You know, as we get older, it's easy to fall into routines with our eating and drinking habits, things we've enjoyed for years without giving them much thought. But here's something that might surprise you. Some of those everyday food and drink combinations we love could actually be doing more harm than good. And when it comes to our health, especially as we age, being a little more mindful about what we put into our bodies can make all the difference. That's why today, we're going to talk about 4 common drink and food pairings that doctors say could increase the risk of cancer, especially for seniors. Now, I'm not here to scare you or tell you to give up everything you enjoy. Instead, think of this as a friendly heads-up, a little nudge to help you make choices that keep you feeling your best for years to come. Let's start with something many of us enjoy, especially in the morning. Hot tea or coffee with a buttery, flaky pastry or toast. It's a comforting way to start the day, right? But here's the thing. When you combine very hot drinks with processed, high-fat baked goods, you might be doing more damage than you realize. Doctors have found that regularly consuming extremely hot beverages, like tea or coffee above 140 degrees Fahrenheit, can irritate the lining of your esophagus. And over time, that irritation could lead to problems. Pair that with pastries or white bread loaded with refined sugars and unhealthy fats, and you've got a combination that promotes inflammation in the body, something that's been linked to a higher risk of certain cancers. Now, that doesn't mean you have to give up your morning cup of tea or coffee. Instead, try letting it cool for a few minutes before sipping, and maybe swap that buttery croissant for a slice of whole grain toast with a little avocado or almond butter. Small changes like that can still give you that comforting routine while being much kinder to your body. Another combination you might want to rethink is alcohol paired with salty, processed snacks. Think wine with cheese and crackers, or beer with pretzels and chips. Now, I know a glass of wine with friends, or a cold beer on a warm afternoon can feel like one of life's little pleasures. But when alcohol mixes with heavily salted, preserved foods, it creates a double whammy for your health. Alcohol itself, especially in excess, has been linked to several types of cancer, including breast, liver, and esophageal cancer. And those salty snacks, they often contain nitrates and other preservatives that, when broken down in the body, can form harmful compounds. Now, if you do enjoy a drink now and then, moderation is key. Try sipping your favorite beverage with some fresh veggies and hummus, or a handful of unsalted nuts instead. That way, you still get to enjoy the moment without the added risks. We've got a couple more important combinations to talk about, but before we move on, I want you to remember, this isn't about cutting out everything you love. It's about making small, smart swaps that let you enjoy life while keeping your health in mind. And speaking of smart swaps, let's talk about another pairing you might not have thought much about: sugary sodas or fruit juices with fast food or fried meals. We all know that fast food isn't the healthiest choice, but when you wash it down with a large soda or a sugary fruit drink, the effects can be even worse. The high sugar content in those drinks causes a rapid spike in blood sugar, and when combined with the unhealthy fats in fried foods, it creates a perfect storm for inflammation and insulin resistance, both of which have been tied to an increased risk of cancer over time. If you do find yourself grabbing a quick meal out, try opting for water, unsweetened tea, or even just a smaller portion of your favorite drink. And if you're craving something sweet with your meal, a piece of whole fruit is a much better choice than a soda. It's all about balance. Now, there's one more big one we need to discuss, and it's something you might not expect. Processed meats like bacon or hot dogs paired with sugary barbecue sauces or glazes. We'll get into that next, because this combination is sneakier than most people realize. But for now, just remember, being aware is the first step to making healthier choices, and every little change adds up. So, why not start today? Now, let's talk about that last combination I mentioned. processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, or deli meats slathered in sweet, sticky sauces or glazes. You might be thinking, what's the harm in a hot dog at a barbecue or a few slices of ham with a bit of honey mustard? Well, it turns out this is one of those sneaky pairings that doctors are particularly concerned about when it comes to cancer risk. Here's why. Processed meats are already packed with preservatives like nitrates and nitrites, which help them last longer but can form harmful compounds in the body. When you add sugary sauces, think barbecue, teriyaki, or even some store-bought glazes, you're not just adding extra calories. The sugar reacts with those preservatives during digestion, creating substances that can damage cells and potentially lead to cancer over time. Studies have shown that regularly eating processed meats is linked to a higher risk of colorectal cancer, and when you pair them with high-sugar condiments, that risk may go even higher. But don't worry, this doesn't mean you have to skip your summer cookouts or holiday dinners. Instead, try swapping out processed meats for fresher options like grilled chicken, fish, or even a homemade turkey burger. And if you love that smoky, tangy flavor, try making your own sauce with natural sweeteners like a touch of maple syrup, or even just some herbs and spices. You'll still get that delicious taste without the extra risks. Now, let's move on to something that might surprise you: dairy and charred or heavily grilled meats. This one's a bit unexpected, but it's worth paying attention to. Picture this: a juicy steak fresh off the grill, maybe a little charred around the edges, served with a creamy sauce or a glass of milk. Sounds harmless, right? Well, the problem comes from how high heat cooking, like grilling or frying, can create carcinogens in meat, especially when it gets that blackened, crispy crust. And when you combine those charred bits with dairy, some research suggests it might make those harmful compounds even more damaging to your cells. Now, I'm not saying you should give up grilled food altogether. That would be a tough sell, especially in the summer. But there are ways to enjoy it more safely. Try marinating your meat before grilling. Something as simple as olive oil, lemon, and herbs can help reduce those risky compounds. And instead of heavy cream-based sauces, try topping your steak with a fresh salsa or a drizzle of balsamic glaze. Small tweaks like this let you keep the flavors you love while cutting down on the risks. We've covered a lot so far, and I hope you're finding these tips helpful. The key takeaway here isn't to eliminate everything you enjoy, but to be mindful of how certain combinations might affect your health over time. And with that in mind, let's talk about one last pairing that's especially common in many seniors' diets: refined carbohydrates and sugary drinks. You've probably heard that too much sugar isn't great for you, but when you pair refined carbs, like white bread, pasta, or pastries, with sweetened beverages, it creates a double dose of sugar that your body has to process all at once. This doesn't just lead to weight gain or blood sugar spikes. It also creates an environment in your body that's ripe for inflammation, which over time can contribute to cancer development. If you're used to having a soda with your sandwich or a sweet tea with your breakfast toast, try swapping out just one of those things at a time. Maybe switch to sparkling water with a splash of fruit juice instead of soda, or choose whole grain bread instead of white. These little changes can make a big difference in how you feel and how your body handles what you eat. Now, we've got one more important point to cover. Something that ties all of this together in a way that might really change how you think about your meals. But before we get into that, take a moment to think about which of these combinations you might be having regularly. Because the good news is, once you're aware, you're already on your way to making healthier choices. And that's something worth celebrating. Now, let's talk about the last, and perhaps most important combination on our list: artificial sweeteners paired with highly processed foods. You might think you're making a healthier choice by reaching for that diet soda or sugar-free snack. But doctors are finding that these fake sugars can be just as problematic as the real thing when mixed with the wrong foods. Here's what happens. Many sugar substitutes, like aspartame or sucralose, can actually trick your body into craving more sweets. And when you pair them with processed foods, like low-fat muffins, diet desserts, or even some packaged health foods, you end up with a meal that lacks real nutrition but still triggers blood sugar spikes and inflammation. Some studies even suggest that long-term use of certain artificial sweeteners may disrupt gut bacteria and increase the risk of metabolic disorders, which are linked to higher cancer rates. But don't worry, you don't have to give up sweetness entirely. If you're looking for a healthier alternative, try small amounts of natural options like raw honey, pure maple syrup, or even just whole fruits to satisfy your sweet tooth. And when it comes to processed diet foods, ask yourself, is there a fresher, simpler option? Often, a handful of nuts or a piece of dark chocolate will do the trick without the unwanted side effects. Now, before we wrap up, I want to remind you of something crucial. None of this is about perfection. It's about progress. You don't have to overhaul your diet overnight. Just start with one small change. Maybe today, you'll let your tea cool a little longer before drinking it. Next week, you might swap out processed meats for a leaner protein at one meal. Every step counts, and your body will thank you for it. The choices we make every day add up. And when it comes to staying healthy as we age, knowledge really is power. You've taken a big step just by learning about these combinations. Now it's all about putting that knowledge into action in a way that works for you. So, what do you think? Have you noticed any of these food pairings in your own routine? I'd love to hear your thoughts or any tips you've discovered in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more simple, practical advice to help you live your healthiest, happiest life. Remember, friends, growing older is a gift, and with a few smart choices, we can make sure we're enjoying it to the fullest. Here's to good health, good food, and many more years of making wonderful memories. Cheers to you! See you in the next videos.